Hey everyone, this is Michael again and welcome to the Smackdown review. And tonight's Smackdown was from the Legacy Arena in Birmingham, Alabama. And I gotta say, Smackdown was a solid show tonight. I really enjoyed Smackdown tonight. Was it a great or perfect show? No, but it was a solid show tonight. And we had a really good match from Andrade and Rey Mysterio, which I'll get to. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked out my Raw review, definitely go check it out. I liked Raw last night. I thought it was a fun, exciting, good show that felt fresh, in my opinion. So I also enjoyed Raw last night. So if you haven't checked out my review of it, definitely go check it out. It's a previous video. So now let's get on to the SmackDown review. So SmackDown opened up tonight with Becky Lynch rolling into the arena in her van, and Kayla Braxton interviews her, and she asks Becky if she's ready for Asuka. And Becky says to Kayla Braxton that Kayla thinks she knows the answer, but she'll answer it in the ring. And so Becky then makes her way into the arena to go to the ring, and we see New Day observing heavy machinery. Oz Dozovic and Tucker Knight, and Oz Dozovic was making some sort of crazy protein shake, and Oz was like to New Day, "Oh, why don't you take a sip with it? Why don't you take a sip of it? Try it." They didn't want to, and so Becky comes up. She wants to take a sip and try it out. So Becky ends up drinking it, and she says, "It's a little weak." And then she heads off. She heads off to the ring. So her music plays. Becky makes her way to the ring, and she says that in 2 short weeks she gets the opportunity to take back her SmackDown Women's Championship that she got the whole world talking about. And Becky ends up saying that everyone thinks what she did is a fluke, and that it was all easy, and that was all easy until they try it. And she's like, they are all trying it. The men and women of Raw and SmackDown, and she says they're all trying to find that extra badass gear ever since she broke through. And she goes on to say that Asuka is finding out just how hard leading this division really is. And Becky says there are those that try to discredit her, saying that she's all hype. And she goes on to say she delivers on everything. She delivers on everything she says every single time. She goes on to mention that Asuka walked into WrestleMania last year, indestructible and unbeatable, which we all know. Asuka had a undefeated streak when she was still down NXT and when she was brought up to the main roster. Eventually, we all know her undefeated streak got broken at WrestleMania last year by Charlotte. And Becky ends up saying that Asuka walked into WrestleMania last year indestructible and unbeatable, and she goes on to say that Asuka lost. And Becky says not only did Asuka lose, but it shook her to her core, and the invincible Asuka wasn't the same after that. And she ends up saying that Asuka couldn't beat once the woman Becky beat 5 times in a row. And she ends up saying, you know, she acts as if Becky is ready for her. And Asuka ends up coming out, and Asuka gets on the mic and says to Becky that she is like a little bee, but she has no sting. And Asuka goes on to say that after the Royal Rumble, Becky won't be in Charlotte's shadow. She'll be in Asuka's shadow. And then we had the Iconics come out, Billie Kay, Peyton, Royce. Billie Kay tells Asuka that, you know, that's not how a proper champion behaves. And, you know, it's not how a proper champion behaves. And, you know, Asuka making scary faces and threats. And Peyton Royce addresses that, that bully Becky. And Billie Kay dubs, Becky Lynch. She ends up calling Becky bossy. And she ends up calling typical behavior from a man to Becky. And they say it doesn't matter who wins the title match because they're going to win the Royal Rumble and then the women's tag team championships, and then make WrestleMania absolutely iconic. So, you know, I would like to see Billie Kay and Peyton Royce hold the women's tag team titles, but eventually, what the plan is, I heard, if they want to give two superstars the women's tag team titles, it should go to Sasha and Bayley. It should go to Sasha Banks and Bayley. I think they should be the first to hold the women's tag team titles. So, and then Becky turns to Asuka, and she ends up saying she'll show her why she's the talk of the industry. And so Becky then asks, which one of you want to step in the ring with me? She ends up saying that to Peyton Royce and Billie Kay. Who wants to step foot and have a match? Who wants to challenge me? So goes to commercial, but I like the way how SmackDown opened tonight with Becky Lynch. Really love Becky. And after SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had the match, which was Billie Kay versus Peyton Royce. This match was just Becky Lynch just taking down Peyton Royce, and pretty much the match was a drag. In my opinion, it dragged on way too long. And Becky wasn't even in her gear. She was just wrestling with her man shirt and pants and a pair of Nikes. So that's how she ended up looking tonight. But Becky Lynch ended up getting the win. Ended up hitting the disarmor on Peyton Royce to score the win. And during the match, Asuka was sitting, by the commentary table, or near the commentary table, watching the match. And so after the match, Asuka shouts in Japanese, which is kind of funny how she screams in Japanese, how she gets that really fired up and pissed off. And Asuka wanted a challenge, and so she was calling out, one of the Iconics to have a match with her. And Billie Kay and Peyton Royce were like, no, we don't want to deal with this. And so Asuka gets out of the ring, grabs Billie Kay, tosses her in the ring, and we get a match, Asuka versus Billie Kay, which was short. So it was nothing special, though. Nothing great. It was a short match. Asuka was just dominating through the match. Asuka end up mimicking Becky by making her own version of the disarmor. And then Asuka ended up blocking in the Asuka lock on Billie Kay. Billie Kay ended up tapping out, so Asuka ends up winning. And of course, Becky Lynch was watching. And then after the match, Becky ended up rushing in. Both her and Asuka end up having a stare down and talking crap. And then we hear AJ Styles' music come out. AJ Styles' music hits. And so AJ Styles comes out, and this was really random to me, in my opinion. AJ Styles comes out, walks around the ring, and then he goes into the crowd, walks up the stairs, into a section in the arena. Goes, he's in the crowd, and then it goes to commercial, and we don't know why Styles ended up coming out, walked around the ring, went into the crowd. So SmackDown went to commercial. Sorry about that, but I was saying, SmackDown went to commercial. And then SmackDown came back from the commercial, and we see AJ Styles. And he was near the concession stand. There was like a concession stand, and then there was the merchandise stand. And there was fans all back there. We could barely hear Styles what he was saying because the fans were cheering so loudly. And Styles says, these people, who were cheering there, they spent their hard-earned money to be at SmackDown, to attend the show, and it means that they should do what makes them happy. And he did this for retaliation to what Daniel Bryan did last week, where Daniel Bryan started off SmackDown last week at the concession stand, and he was trashing the people who eat hot dogs and drink these soda drinks, and he ended up throwing like a hot dog at a fan and threw the fan's drink back at him, and getting pissed off at Styles' merchandise. So this was Styles, retaliating for that. And Styles was like, these people should do what makes them happy. And if that means eating a hot dog, they could do that. Whether it's, drinking, soda, they should. And he says he's going to kick Daniel Bryan's ass at the Royal Rumble and take the WWE Championship back. And so he ends up taking his T-shirts, ends up throwing them to the crowd, tossing them to the crowd. And then Daniel Bryan attacks Styles, comes out of the crowd. He's wearing a black hoodie. And we get a concession stand brawl. Brawl between Styles and Daniel Bryan. Styles ends up putting and crashing Daniel Bryan through a table that was the hot dog table, and the security ends up separating Styles from Daniel Bryan. So that was what happened. So yeah, but it was cool. I like how the fans were cheering for Styles, and it looked like they were having fun with him there. And hell, they all got, those fans got a free T-shirt from Styles there. So that was kind of cool. And then after that, we saw the Usos. They were posing for photos, and a crew guy comes and delivers a gift to Jimmy. And Jimmy ends up opening it up, and inside was a letter, and there was also a rose. And of course, this is coming from Mandy Rose. And we've seen from the past weeks, Mandy Rose has been on this thing where she wants to flirt with Jimmy Uso and piss off Naomi. And also in that gift was a key to her hotel room. And so we saw that. And then we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing Andrade, which it's stupid how WWE is not calling Andrade now, you know, with his Cien Almas. Now he's just known as Andrade, which is fucking stupid. But, you know, people say, you know, people call him Andrade instead of saying, you know, his full name, so... But yeah, he should be known as Andrade Cien Almas. That is what he was debuted as when he came into NXT. That's how the way, you know, his name should be. I know they tried that with Apollo Crews that one time where they took out his last name and he was just called Apollo, and then they went back to his full name, Apollo Crews, which that didn't go nowhere. You know, it was just only Apollo. So, but Kayla Braxton was interviewing Andrade about heading into his match with Rey Mysterio tonight. Andrade says Rey Mysterio was his idol. And he says, but last week he showed him that the times have changed and he's the future, that Andrade's the future. And Zelina Vega says, you know, what year it is, and that it's time to focus on the future. And she ends up saying, a future in which Andrade beats Rey Mysterio, wins the Royal Rumble, and wins the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. So pretty decent interview with Andrade. So I mean, this should be his year. You know, after he was saying, you know, how he's not happy with WWE, you know, treating him like this and making him lose matches. So I don't blame him. I hope this is the year for Andrade, and we see him with gold around his waist, with a title around his waist. So, and then we had it was supposed to be Samoa Joe versus Mustafa Ali, but the match never really got underway because as Mustafa Ali was doing his his entrance and greeting the fans, he was on the top. Samoa Joe ends up knocking Mustafa down, and he ends up going into Mustafa Ali when Mustafa Ali was in the corner, ends up kicking Mustafa, and then the action went out of the ring. Joe ended up tossing or throwing Mustafa Ali into the ring post, which was brutal. Just the sound of Mustafa Ali being tossed into the ring post was brutal. And then Joe did it another time. He ended up throwing Mustafa Ali again into the ring post. So he did it twice, and they were really brutal. Just how Mustafa ended up coming off of the ring post or being slammed into it. So then Joe ends up coming back down. Like we all thought Joe was done with Mustafa Ali after that. After he tossed or threw Mustafa Ali twice into the ring post. But no, Joe wasn't done there. Joe comes back down, and he ends up throwing Mustafa Ali into the barricade. And so pretty much that's basically what happened. But you know, it was crazy. It was a crazy attack from Joe to Mustafa Ali. Just the sound of Mustafa Ali bouncing off the ring post was brutal, in my opinion. You can hear the sound of him, you know, hitting the ring post. So then we had Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose backstage. Sonya says to Mandy that you know, she is scandalous for giving Jimmy Uso her hotel key. And Mandy says she can't stand Naomi. and wants to make her life miserable by breaking up their marriage. So that was that. Then we had Kayla Braxton. She was interviewing Samoa Joe about why he attacked Mustafa Ali. Joe says to Kayla Braxton that, that wasn't an attack. It was a statement, a declaration. And he says he's entering his first Royal Rumble soon. So this is going to be Joe's first Royal Rumble match. And he goes on to say that he intends to win it. And Joe ends up telling the rest of the roster that he'll treat them with the same respect he just did to Mustafa Ali. And he'll hunt them down and put them to sleep. So that was the short interview with Samoa Joe. Sorry about that, but like I was saying, that was the interview with Samoa Joe. And then we had, which I consider the best match of the night, Rey Mysterio versus Andrade. And this was the best match of the night. This was a very good match, a very entertaining match. Well, this possibly might be the first best match of the year, in my opinion. This match was that good. Both of these guys went at it, and it was good wrestling, this match. And I would like to see Rey Mysterio and Andrade have a match at WrestleMania. This almost felt like a WrestleMania match between the both of them. And one of the highlights in the match is we saw Mysterio and Andrade on the ring apron. Mysterio hits a Hurricanrana to Andrade, and Andrade ended up flying off the ring apron, which that Hurricanrana was amazing. And then we had Mysterio end up going to the top, and he ended up hitting a diving senton to Andrade outside of the ring, which that was amazing. And also we saw the move, the pile driver that Mysterio hit last week on Andrade. We saw that, which it was beautifully done here again, where Mysterio hit that sort of like Canadian pile driver to Andrade. We had again tonight, which looked amazing still. And another part of the match that was awesome was Rey Mysterio went for the 619. Andrade ended up catching him, and Mysterio countered it into a crucifix bomb to Andrade. And that was amazing. And Rey Mysterio had the match, possibly had the match won, but Zelina Vega got involved. She was distracting the referee. Andrade took control, and he knocked Mysterio off the top. Andrade went for the hammerlock DDT. 1, 2, 3. And Andrade ended up winning the match. So, but all in all, it was a good match. It was the best match of the night, in my opinion. It was very fun and very entertaining. It was like a WrestleMania match, in my opinion. And if you guys, if you guys want to check out this match, definitely recommend it. Watch back this match. It was that good of a match. And both these guys did good. Good wrestling from the both of them. I would like I said, I would like to see these guys go again, but hopefully in a match at WrestleMania. This should be they should have a match at WrestleMania. And I think WWE should do that. Can you imagine the crowd in MetLife Stadium come WrestleMania 35 if there was a match on the WrestleMania card with Andrade and Rey Mysterio? That match would be awesome, and that crowd will be popping loudly for the both of them. But I hope WWE books them in a match for WrestleMania, because they would tear the roof down, both Andrade and Rey Mysterio. And unfortunately, from what I heard, this match was supposed to be the main event, but it wasn't. And I think the reason why this wasn't the main event was because there was supposed to be another match that was scheduled for tonight. It was supposed to be Sonya Deville versus Carmella, but unfortunately, the match didn't happen. So they put this match possibly in that place where it was supposed to be Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose. But man, if this was the main event for SmackDown tonight, SmackDown would have went off the air with a good main event to close the show. So, but all in all, this was the best match of the night, possibly first match of the year, best match of the year, in my opinion. It just delivered, this match. Then we had Jimmy Uso. He ended up going to Mandy Rose's hotel room, and he ends up entering Mandy Rose's room, because of course Mandy gave him the hotel key in that gift. So he ends up entering, and Mandy Rose is shown sitting in a chair in a short black robe. Sorry about that again, but as I was saying, Jimmy Uso entered Mandy Rose's hotel room, and she was shown sitting in a chair in a short black robe, and she was telling Jimmy to come closer to her. And Mandy Rose ends up saying, the time to play hard to get is over. And she ends up taking off the robe, and it reveals her undergarments, which were black. So, and she asks Jimmy what he thinks and what his wife will think. And Jimmy tells Mandy Rose that he can't do this and it needs to stop. And Mandy Rose, looks like she has different ideas. And we see a photographer comes into the room, and the photographer ends up taking pictures, possibly for Mandy Rose to bust Jimmy Uso with Naomi. And Mandy ends up saying that this isn't about Jimmy. It's about how much she hates Naomi. And she ends up calling Naomi a nobody that will never be as hot as her. And she says everybody knows it. And she says when she sees the photos, it'll destroy her entire life. So, and then we see Jimmy Uso, shrugs it off. He ends up leaving. And Naomi ends up coming in, and she starts beating up on Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose ends up spearing Naomi into the bed, and because it was like punches, it was brawling, and then Naomi gets thrown over the chair, and Mandy Rose then retreats. And Jimmy comes in. And that was basically it, though. But it was meh, the whole segment. Then we had the MIZ come out. This was to celebrate Shane McMahon's birthday, which unfortunately today is, of course, Shane McMahon's birthday. It's his real birthday today. And Miz says on behalf of everyone, he wishes Shane a happy birthday. Because he introduced Shane. Shane came out, and Miz ended up saying that, on behalf of everyone, he wishes Shane a happy birthday. Shane ends up thanking everyone, and he ends up saying to Miz that he is uncomfortable with birthday parties. And Miz was like, "Oh, uncomfortable," and he goes to Shane, "This isn't like This isn't Chuck E. Cheese's. This is an arena full of fans, full of your fans." And so Miz ends up telling him he got Shane 2 cakes, and one cake it was like chocolate and vanilla on top. It had it had the dollar logo on it, and then one was all like vanilla cake, and it showed like a picture of Shane and Miz holding up the Best in the World trophy. And Miz gave Shane a gift, and Shane ended up opening it, and it was revealed that Miz one of the gifts was a pair of Jordans. It was Jordan 33s, and Miz was like, "Oh, I got you these so you could wear them for the Royal Rumble." And Miz says that Shane's next gift is on the Titantron. So it was a video package of Shane's career and his story with the Miz over the past months. Like it showed like Shane's matches that he had, of course with Kurt Angle at King of the Ring 2001, the match that he had with his father Vince at WrestleMania 17. There was a little bit of that, and at WrestleMania 33 where he faced AJ Styles, and it's just all that. And this also reflect on, like I said, the story with him and Miz over the past months. But it was a good video package highlighting Shane's career, and Shane was like, "Oh, thank you for that." And he says to Miz, he likes that Miz, last week, opened up himself. And, he goes on to say that, now that, that Miz opened up himself, he wanted to open up himself. Shane wanted to open up himself. And he says, ever since he was a kid, he always dreamt of being tag team champions. And Shane says, his first pick, for a tag team partner would have been Andre the Giant. And he goes on to say that he's very proud to be walking into the Royal Rumble with Miz as his partner. And after that, Miz leads the crowd singing Shane a happy birthday, which then gets interrupted by Cesaro and Sheamus. And they end up coming out. Sheamus says, "Oh, that was embarrassing." And he goes on to say that it will be more embarrassing is that they didn't invite the tag team champions. And Cesaro says it's more shameful that they didn't invite Vince. And Sheamus points out he doesn't give a damn about Shane, and that Vince doesn't give a damn about Shane, and he just didn't want to show up. And Sheamus claims they'll destroy Shane and Miz at the Royal Rumble. And so Shane fires back at Sheamus and says they teamed up on Miz last week, and he calls him a fake tough guy for bro kicking Miz while he wasn't looking. And he proposed to see how tough he is tonight in a singles match against the Miz. And Miz was like, "Oh, I'm not ready. I'm not in my I'm not clear to wrestle. I'm wearing a suit." And Shane says to Miz, he wasn't dressed when he won their trophy. And he pumps him up. He pumps Miz up by listing off his accomplishments and also furthermore his birthday wish. And so Miz ends up agreeing. So we end up having the match, the main event, The Miz versus Sheamus. This was a short match. Wasn't great or perfect by any means. We had Cesaro trying to interfere in the match. Shane ended up pulling Cesaro down. Cesaro went through the table. He went through the cake, which one cake was on the other side, near the commentary table. So I'm like, oh yeah, I know somebody's going to be put through the cake, because we all know when something is on the table out there, you know, it's laid out on a table, you know some superstar is going to go through the table and go through, and go through, whether it's a cake or like something else on the table. So yeah, so Cesaro went through a table and went through the cake, and The Miz ended up rolling up Sheamus, win the match. So The Miz ended up winning. And after the match, Sheamus goes after The Miz again. So he ends up Sheamus ends up stopping Miz. Shane comes in, starts throwing punches at Sheamus. Ends up hitting the flying elbow to Sheamus. And then Miz ends up hitting a skull-crushing finale. And Shane then goes to attempt the coast to coast, and Miz ends up picking up the cake that was on the table near the commentary table, and Shane then hits the coast to coast on Sheamus, and then The Miz held the cake up. So Shane ended up hitting the coast to coast with the cake near Sheamus's face. The cake went on Sheamus, and that's how SmackDown ended. It just stood with Shane and The Miz standing there, and that's how SmackDown ended. So yeah. So anyways, that's it for my review of tonight's edition of SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review, and definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.